Hi, Mike Maggiano here today. I'm here with my partners Mike Lizzie and Chris DiGirolamo, and today we're going to talk about school bus driver safety. School bus drivers are regulated by the Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Act in that if their vehicle is going to transport more than 15 students and the vehicle weighs more than 26,001 pounds, that driver has to have a commercial driver's license. That means he has to take a special test, has to be able to answer questions regarding the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations. It also means one more important thing. He has to be regularly tested for drugs. I'd like to talk to you today about some of the rules of the road. Rarely, thank God, does a bus accident take place. But when it does, I don't think there's a such thing as a minor school bus accident.
I'm going to need about 20 ambulances. I have a full school bus and I have victims on the ground.
The violent force of the crash ripped the bus packed with fifth graders in two pieces and flipped it over.
Chris has a few comments regarding the school buses themselves and the use of safety restraints for our children.
Thanks, Michael. So New Jersey is one of 7 states that require seatbelts on school buses. But New Jersey does not require a 3-point lap belt like we have in cars. They require only the lap belt across the waist. There has been a bill for the past 5 or 6 years that's been trying to become law, requiring that New Jersey have a lap belt and a harness, because the studies show that a 3-point system would reduce the injuries that occur each year from bus accidents. School bus accidents, obviously, they have higher seats than a traditional car, and school buses are safe. In fact, statistics show that there's only somewhere between 5 and 7 school bus children-related deaths on school buses each year, but the hope is that with the 3-point belt system, that would be reduced even further, or perhaps there would be none. So New Jersey is in the process of deciding that issue, and unfortunately for the citizens of the state, the only thing holding up the bill is that the cost to reconfigure the buses with the seatbelts would probably run between $7,000 and $10,000 per bus. And that seems to be what's holding it up right now. But let's hope that in the future we can get this passed and the students that ride the buses each day in our state will be even safer.
But this is another example of dollars over safety. What the heck is $7,000?
$7,000 to $10,000.
What the heck is $7,000 to $10,000 over the safety of children? Now, let me tell you why there's a big difference between a lap belt and a 3-point system. Let's think about it. The lap belt just goes across the child's waist.
Correct.
The child is in an accident. The child is thrust forward. In bus wrecks we have just seen yesterday,
May 17th.
May 17th,
on Route 80.
2018, on Route 80. Bus is in a horrendous accident, flipped over. We see kids hanging from their seatbelts.
Ejected also, yeah.
And ejected. Yes. Now, what harm is caused by the seatbelt itself? Severe abdominal injuries frequently result in internal bleeding, and internal bleeding can lead to death. So the 3-point system helps keep the child in place better, in position to the seat, and thus you have the safety of the seat back, and also helps prevent the thrust forward and abdominal injuries, particularly abdominal injuries on a rollover.
Some patients are in critical condition and currently undergoing surgery, so please keep everybody in your prayers.
K-9 units searched the nearby woods after there were reports of people being ejected from the bus. Officials say 43 victims were taken to area hospitals.
$7,000, look, in my view, is nothing.
Seatbelts make buses safer, but buses and seatbelts are not safe if other operators and drivers and users of the roadway don't behave in a safe manner. What you need is everybody on the road to acknowledge the rules of the road and to practice safe driving rules and follow safe driving practices.
I'd like you to talk about. It's called the Smith system.
Yes.
And it follows 5 simple common sense principles that, if followed by drivers, saves lives. Could you talk about the Smith system?
Sure, thank you. You have to always assume that somebody else will not see you unless it's clear from some sign from them that they have seen you. And in short, people have to practice defensive driving. They have to be aware of hazards on the roadway, and they have to the greatest extent possible, avoid creating of themselves a hazard on the roadway.
Let me talk to you about a book that, for those of you involved in your boards of education, for those of you involved in your parent-teachers associations, you need to make sure that every bus driver in your school district has this very simple handbook. And I'm not here to sell any particular author, but this is a well-known and well-respected book. It's called Keller's School Bus Driver's Safety Handbook. And it is a recipe for safety, very common sense rules of the road, and if followed, our kids will get to where they need to go and get home to us safe at the end of the school day. Our bus drivers have to be trained. We all know that, and they get a CDL, right? However, they have to be retrained. They have to go back to the fundamentals. It's like playing a sport. Every day you got to get back on that court and practice the very basics. Every day. Every day. This book should be in every bus driver's
Glove
box and knapsack, or with his lunch pail, and he should be opening it and reviewing it periodically and living and breathing safe driving rules and regulations. Driving a truck or bus down a highway at 55 miles an hour requires as much attention as a neurosurgeon operating on your brain. And when you think about it, that's probably close to true. Think of all that's passing you at 55 miles an hour. Think of all that you have to be attentive to at 55 miles an hour driving a big rig like a school bus or a tractor trailer. And when you think about that, you got to think about a plan.
I'm going to need about 20 ambulances. I have a full school bus and I have victims on the ground.
Calls flooded 911 after a school bus carrying 38 fifth graders from a New Jersey middle school collided with a dump truck.
I got one child shallow breathing with a head injury.
Law enforcement says the school bus driver caused the crash after making an illegal U-turn when he missed an exit. The collision was so violent that the body of the bus was nearly sheared off the undercarriage, the front end crushed as it careened on its side atop the highway.
Not being in a rush, having a plan. What time do I have to leave? What time will it take to get there? What should I anticipate? Look, when we get out on the turnpike in New Jersey every day, we don't know what the heck we're getting into. I'm leaving an hour earlier for court than I did when I started practicing, just to make sure that I'm there on time and I don't have to rush. Chris, what do you think?
Well, I think that's a great point, but what we also have to realize is anticipation. Even leaving early, sometimes, for example, what happened in yesterday's crash, somebody got lost, they were worried about their plan, they were worried about their time. And in trying to make the best of it, what they did instead was 2 professional drivers failed to do the simplest thing, which is be safe. And that's what we know led to this crash. So even with the best plan, you have to be able to anticipate and alter the plan, but never do one thing, never change the basic rule of safety.
Safety is first. It's the paramount consideration when you get behind a wheel. It's not about getting somewhere at a certain time, shaving off a few minutes from your travel time, making up for a missed exit. These are soon forgotten. A lapse in safety, though, can lead to consequences that'll be long-lasting and lifelong and will not be forgotten. So, keep safety first.
Folks, we hope to talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Be safe.
Thank you.